those of the staff and management of KWAM.
Welcome to the Variety Hour on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Listen to you move your mouth. I bet you come from way down south. Now don't tell me, let me guess, you from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, you sound so good. Talk Memphis, high on the bluff. I swear I can't get enough. Listening to you talk that stuff. Talk Memphis, oh yeah, talk Memphis.
This is the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. I am your host, Dean Harris. I'm with CrestCore Realty over on Summer Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. I want to thank you guys for tuning in this morning. Some of you might be on AM 990 Memphis. Some of you on 107.9 FM. And then there could be some of you streaming the show at www.kwam990.com. The Memphis Real Estate Hour will concentrate on investing in Memphis real estate. We'll also touch on our residential real estate market as well, just to keep you up to date on that. We'll have local and national vendor partners of ours on the show from time to time, sharing their knowledge with you on how to become an investor in Memphis or how to become a better investor in Memphis. Today's show, I have got the investment of the week, and this is going to be a little different this week. I've got two multi-unit properties that we've got available that are really good cash flow properties, so it's a little bit different. It's the first time on the investments of the week I've brought in multifamily properties, so it should be interesting. These are great properties in good little rental pockets, so I'm excited to bring those to you today. Remind you guys, too, every single show that I am an investor. So if you have that old home that you need to sell quickly, or if you know someone that has that old home they need to sell quickly, shoot me an email, dean@crestcore.com, and we will get you a cash offer on that home today. Facebook Live, we mention this every show now, and I guess it's just part of the show. We've been doing it for several months, but we want to welcome everybody who's listening on and watching really on Facebook Live. We post the shows every week on the show's Facebook page, the Memphis Real Estate Hour. Actually looked at that yesterday, and there's 44 shows on there. So if you guys have any questions or want to go back and look at kind of the history of the show, we've been doing this for a little over 2 years now, but there's about 44, 45 shows on there. You can go back and pick some of the topics you might have some questions in and take a listen and a look. Last week on the show, we were super excited to have Douglas Skipworth. He is the other co-founder of CrestCore Realty, and we discussed 3 deadly sins investors make and money partners versus equity partners. So always love having Douglas on the show. It's a definite different perspective. Same beliefs, same core values, but it's it's good.
How's the JV team?
JV team. Dan, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, the JV, the backup. Yeah, Douglas always loves to hear that he's the second string QB coming in here to play. So, no, in all seriousness, he definitely goes. We try to keep it a little lighter. I do, I guess, with you, but there is so much substance when he comes on the show. He's really thought out. You and I get to joking someone here just because we're on here every week. But I was excited to have him on. You guys go back to last week's show and take a look and a listen. Douglas is really good on the radio with his knowledge. It's on the show's Facebook page, the Memphis Real Estate Hour. So we were happy to have him. Today's show, again, I'm going to have the investments of the week at the bottom of the hour. And then I've got Dan Butler on here again. How do I get from 1 house to 20 houses? And how to sell your rental for top dollar. So let's dive right into that. Dan, you've been gone for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
You
glad to be back.
A little break, yes.
A little hot here back in Memphis.
It is really hot.
It's like somebody hit you in the face right when you walk out the door.
Yeah. I had a tenant call me yesterday from one of my rentals, and I just put in 2 brand new units, window units, and she was calling to tell me it's hot. I was like, I don't know what else I can do for you. It's 105
It's 100,
degrees.
yeah.
It's going to be that time of year.
It's supposed to cool off the rest of or end of the week, I think. So.
It'll cool off, but August is
to 80 something.
Yeah, to 89.
That's
right. With the humidity makes it like 100. But August will be a scorcher, and then, of course, we'll get into September. We'll start chilling out a little bit. But let's dive into this. How do I get from 1 to 20 houses, rental properties? And the first thing I see on our notes is mindset. And a lot of what we talk about on this show is mindset, right? I mean, we always say you are who you hang with. 10 exits from the Grant Cardone book, and
Limited beliefs,
and I can't do it versus I'm gonna do it.
That's right.
You know, it's we talk about this all the time. Talk about mindset shift when you're thinking 1 house to 20.
Well, a majority of our clients we have own 1 to 2, maybe 3 houses.
That's right.
The majority. So that's probably, and I say majority, not just even 50%, but probably 75% own that 1 to 2 houses. And so for whatever reason, they get stuck. Sometimes they're accidental landlords. Sometimes they've tried it, and they just, I've talked to a guy yesterday, kind of the same thing. He's just had a rough experience. And, that's why, to me, the first thing you got to do if you're going to go from 1 to 20 is have a mindset shift of just get over the fear, get over limiting belief, but also just, treat it like a business and run it by the numbers and look at it long term. I mean, there's just all kinds of just nuggets of just your mind's got to think differently from going to 1 to 20, right? You
just keep your emotions out of this.
Yeah, I mean, this guy bought, so I'll give you a quick example. He's bought two up front, which is a pretty big deal. He bought 2 all at one time. And when he bought it, the owner didn't tell him that it went vacant right when he was closing the day before. Wasn't disclosed. So then, and then it got the AC stolen. And then we're working on the house, and it got broken into while we're working on it. Somebody's trying to steal the tools. And so, he's just distraught. He's
torn up about it.
Yeah, torn up, just distraught. And so I just wrote him an email. I said, look, man, my first month had that fire. I've told that story many times on this radio station, but, underinsured, no renter's insurance, didn't know how I was going to get out of it. But I had to have a mindset shift at that time that I'm going to do this and I'm going to figure it out. And that's what I encouraged him. I just was trying to be an encouragement to him. Just, hey, man.
Just stop on the woe is me.
Woe is me. Just think about, how are we going to fix this? So, he was very appreciative, but he's going to have to make that decision to get over that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I want to tell you, I'd like to say this too, and we've talked about this. This goes with mindset and shift, but it also goes with tolerance. Like we've mentioned before that the magic number for this, the magic number from 1 to 20 or of ownership of these homes is 10.
10 plus, yeah.
And what we mean by that is, if you've got 10 or 11 homes, average rent $700, you got almost $8,000 coming in a month in rent, and you have a water heater that goes out.
Right.
You don't even think about it. Replace it, keep moving. But if you got 2 homes and a water heater goes out, you're thinking, no profit for 6 months.
Right.
What am I going to do?
How am I going to pay the mortgage?
Have I made the right decision?
Oh, yeah.
Did they tell me the right thing? Did my agent sell me the right house? You immediately go to question
in the dark place.
In the dark place, and you question everything you got.
Yep.
So if you're listening out there and we're talking about how do you get from 1 to 20, focus on getting from 1 to 10. This will be talking about how to get 1 to 20, but 10 is that magic number. So tell me what else? Mindset shift. We fear and limited beliefs.
Yeah, and take the emotion out of it. That's what I'm trying to say. Really, is just get the emotion out and focus on logic, and focus on the plan. And not so much of woe is me. How am I going to do this?
You mentioned just a second ago, treat it like a business, and I wrote a note. Take it serious. Tell me a little bit when you say treat it like a business. What do you mean by some of those things?
Well, to me, it's like you got to You got to start leveraging others and trusting others. That's part of the mindset. You got to, build your team. You can't do it alone. I just don't think you can't do from 1 to 20 by yourself. So you're going to have a solid team, which
up front.
Build
a team
it now.
up front. Don't build it when you got 4.
That's right. Build it now. Get it started. Get those relationships. Your property manager, your contractor, your accountant, your insurance agent, real estate agent. All that's got to be kind of, you got to be vetting those people now to start building for that 20. And that's one of the things I think I probably started out slower than I could have been a lot faster if I'd built my team quicker.
See, that's what all this advice is coming from. It's not coming from a book we
From
read.
pain.
This is coming from pain and sweat and realizing that you needed to build
I put
that
it all
team
on me.
up front.
Yeah, I had it all on me. You know, I'd been smart. If I think back on it, I mean, you know me. I believe everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the knowledge I have because of what I've done. But you know, I'd been smarter to have a property management team from the very start. I mean, I was collecting rent.
I'll never forget that. I'll say it on this air again. You and I are, your wife is my cousin. We're a little related. So we've talked for years.
15 years
15
plus,
years about how we could work together and tossing and bouncing ideas back and forth.
Yep.
And I'll never forget, most of the time we talked on the weekends because you were doing your manufacturing job during the week.
Yep.
But, hey, Dean, what's going on? Dan, how are you, man? Oh, I'm just, driving around collecting rent. It's like, collecting rent today? Yeah, I got X amount of checks I got to go pick up today. I was like, oh, man. So you really, when you guys are listening, this is coming right out of
pain.
Experience and pain and hours of.
I haven't collected rent in, now it's going on probably 5 years.
Yep.
That I have not been to a house to pick up a physical payment. And I'm more profitable as far as the money I'm coming in because people adapt to, but you don't know that going in. So that's what I'm saying. That's why the team is so important to keep you from making those quote mistakes or going down a path that, it's all on you,
So you did this for 9 years. You collected rent for 9 years?
No, 01 to probably 2013. So what is that?
So 12 years. You
12
collected
years.
rent.
12 years. And it got worse and worse every year as I grew, right? Went from 0 to 100 something, tenants that I'm sitting there chasing
rent,
and $50 here, $100 here, and I've told the story on the radio. But when we changed that mindset to we're not picking it up anymore, I think I lost one tenant out of a couple hundred, so that was worth it.
You're like the repo man coming down the street.
Yeah,
ringing your little bell.
Well, it was not safe either. I mean, that's.
No, it's not safe.
I put myself and, had my kids with me. So if I look back, it was not a very smart move. So
build your team.
I mean, we're going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I mean, the whole point is to build your team, right?
Right.
And just get that so that, I'm a big believer, we're big believers in finding what you're very good at.
Yeah.
And focusing on that.
And take advantage of that.
Take advantage of that and leverage it to
Yes, we
others
are.
to handle all your, quote, weakness. I mean, a buddy of mine, we were running this morning, and we were talking about our kids and how we're trying to figure out how to leverage the strengths of our kids. Let's don't focus on what they're not good at, which is what society teaches you. Like, make them, better at such and such. If your son's not an athlete, he's not an athlete.
Just don't.
If he's not a musician, he's not a musician. I mean, like, don't force them into something that. Now, you want to encourage them to be healthy and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just.
It's just focus on the strengths, and we do that at CrestCore, especially with the Culture Index, and it's really helped me. So yeah, focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Of course, I'm talking to Dan Butler with CrestCore about 1 house to 20, and treat it like a business. Your mindset and your shift is got to be there in the way that you treat it. But I think it's important for you to set smart, attainable goals. What are some of those goals that you should be looking at when you're talking about going from 1 to 20?
Well, I mean,
because they could be different now. Sorry, they could be different if you're looking at multifamily or if you're trying to get just 3. We've done the how to get started or now I'm ready.
I'm ready.
That was a 3-part series of now I'm ready. Yeah,
2 years ago.
Year and a half. We
Year
got
and
to
a half.
reset that. Actually,
Yeah.
got to redo that. But so set some smart goals or attainable goals.
Yeah.
What are some of those goals when you think 1 to 20?
Well, back when I started, I made that plan to get to 300, and so I'm just saying, set the goal so that you have a vision of where you want to be, and part of that is your goal of what your team, who that is, and when you're going to get them, how many houses you want to have by year 1, how many houses by year 2, how much financing do you want to get in place to be able to get those. I mean, see, then if you want 10 houses in the next 2 years, and then you figure out what kind of houses. And then you start backing in how to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we do it every quarter.
Quarter for us for sales.
Our business and
that's
sales.
Right. It's the same concept, but just trying to build a business. So if you have 10 houses you want to get in 2 years, that's, call it $600,000 that you're going to have to come up with.
Yep.
Some way, either cash, owner finance, borrowed it from a bank, and then understanding what those numbers are, and then backing into your plan. So that's to me, people, how many times do you get calls? I mean, it's so. I mean, you know where I'm going with this. Like, oh, I'm ready to buy.
Let's buy it today.
Buy today. It's like, well, have you? What kind of financing? Oh, I hadn't talked to them yet.
Yeah,
Well,
you're not ready.
You're not ready. You don't have a plan. You've talked to some guy at a coffee shop, and you're all excited.
Sounds exciting.
It sounds exciting, and you're ready to go. You're fired up, but you got to step back and really get that plan. And the SMART. I love the whole analogy, the acronym SMART for SMART goals: specific, measurable,
That's right.
attainable, relevant, and time. Put a time on it.
Yeah.
So you got a specific goal that's attainable. You got time on it. It's
You
realistic.
got to hold yourself accountable too.
That's the way to hold yourself accountable. That's right. So I think you got to get those kind of things in place if you're ever going to get to 20. Otherwise, you might get there, but if you don't have a plan, it's just going to be hard to.
I think the time frame is the biggest key in this, to me. Because let's say you wanted 10 in 2 years. Well, you've got to buy one every 6 weeks. Is that
2
right?
months, yeah.
2 months. You got to buy one every. So if you've gotten 6 months down the road, you've only got one.
You're behind.
You're way behind on
That's
what your
right.
goal is. So I think the time frame to me is important. Let's put that down. Make sure that you're, holding yourself accountable for that time frame,
Yep.
and try not to go off of it. Systems and processes. We've already got our mindset shift. We've turned that around. We're treating it like a business. We're super serious. We've set some goals. We want 20 houses in X amount of time frame.
Yep. Well, I mean, you just got to whatever that. Now that you got your goals set up and where your vision, where you're trying to go. Now you talked about getting your team.
Yep.
Now you got to have that where it's repeatable. So Dean makes an offer. We give it to appraiser. We give it to inspector if that's what you're doing. You give it to the bank. You get your rehab bid done. I mean, you have your 10-step or 20-step process
That you should do
every time. Right. And then have that in a specific order. And so that, I mean, I would think when you have a client come to you that's very organized and has a process.
Man, I appreciate that.
You appreciate that, right?
Man,
versus the guy that just calls you when he has a whim or a thought in his head.
I'm ready.
I'm ready, or I'm ready to put this one on a contract. And
even if the system isn't the right one or the best one, and we change it a little bit, I still got way more. Respect's not the word, because I'm not losing any respect for you if you're new, but I got a way more appreciation for that person and how serious they are. There you go. It takes my level of
confidence
in that investor
you're
way
gonna invest
up.
more.
They're going to invest more.
The person that's got
I'm going to pour into you more because I know you've planned. You put your team together. You've listened either to the show or you've listened to podcasts or you've done something to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, and then you've thought through your process of how you're going to get there. You're just not,
flying by the seat of your pants. This is not the business to go on a whim.
No.
Well, let's just go and float off, and we'll I've heard this before. We'll attack that issue as it gets here. Man, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
In my opinion. Decide what lane is yours. You've heard that phrase before, stay in your lane. What does that mean when we're talking 1 to 20?
It means several things. I mean, you've got to find out what. I would suggest that you go into the lane of what you're we talked about a minute ago, but what you're the best at, what you can pour the most time into, and pick that lane, and then outsource or eliminate or automate whatever else those tasks that you need to get to 20.
Yep.
Do that. And so then you're more you're not getting drained. There's investors that we talk to that they're trying to do all these things, and you tell by their tone right away what's dragging them down, and then you get in the conversation, you can tell when their voice picks up what they get excited about doing. Like strategic coach, you've heard me mention that a lot, and I recommend that to several people, but he talks about front stage and backstage, and do you want a front stage person? Are you a front stage person or a backstage person? And you get your energy based on where you thrive in. Front stage would be making relationships and getting out there and putting yourself out there and networking and connecting and getting your team. Or is the backstage, you like the analytics and,
Decide what you're good at and what you want to be.
That's right. And I think it also applies to, kind of the lane of what kind of properties you want. And, you know, and I didn't write this down, but if I think about it, I mean, I was talking to a guy yesterday, has 6 houses, all in like North Haven type areas. And I literally let him go as a client yesterday because they came in here with eyes closed, hope and a prayer, and everything we do cannot match their expectations, but it's, you know, vandalism, theft.
How can we prevent?
You know, like, and so you got to understand when I say your lane, if he truly, if you want to go in that lane, that's fine.
Just know what's coming.
Know what's coming.
Yeah.
Understand that. Understand that's a 1-star neighborhood and no schools, and, you know, crime is through the roof, and turnover, and, you know, so not only for your personal but also your properties, kind of figure out what lane you want to be in. I think that's very important, and stick to that lane. You know, like get really good at buying. I mean, I think you've settled in on what?
One area.
One area, but 40 to 55, 60,000, 700 to
Safe,
900 rent. Man, I got you pegged.
Yeah, you do. I think it's because it's what you guys have.
And then, yeah, that's right. And then every time you send me something outside of that lane, you're like, what would you do? I laugh.
Oh, I put
always try
you
to put
to
me,
the fire.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I do because
because you want to stay in your lane.
I want to stay. No, this is good. This is good. I want to stay in my lane because I'm not good at $20,000 rentals.
Right.
I can't handle what comes with it. I'm too busy.
Right.
I can't. I don't want to. I could afford the 120s, but I'm moving way slower.
Right.
Way slow. So that's not for me either. My lane, what I can afford with my own income.
Yep.
And what's a good product and a safe product is that $40,000 to $60,000 range. Now, different investors have different things, but I lean on you as a mentor and as somebody else to. It was a 3-house package in one. I remember. And one another. Would you? And you're like, it's like, then I don't. Then no, I'm not.
I was trying not to discourage you, but you were holding me to the fire.
I want to be discouraged if it's not something that
in your lane.
In my lane, I want to stay there.
Matt brings up a good point, and I think that, you know, you probably should add this as a number 7. Is just probably a mentor, accountability partner, somebody that you can bounce off, you know, what you're trying to do, you know, because, you know, and if I think about it now, you're going to send less and less of those kind of deals to me anyway, but I know what your lane is now, so I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you looking at a $20,000 house in North Haven?
Because the pencil looks so good.
Because it looks, oh man, but the numbers.
I'll fight it myself.
The financing's there. You know, it's $20,000. Rents for $600.
They're all.
I mean, that's a 20% net return, Dan.
Hey, I've been in this a long time, and it's easy to get caught up in that.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
It's so easy to get caught up in. Oh my gosh, they're all occupied. They're at $20,000 a piece. I mean, but the second somebody moves out, here it goes.
Here it goes.
There's a hole in your boat.
Well, I was doing that. We're working on our management agreement, updating, and talking about operating costs, and it's amazing how many costs that people don't realize go into when a house goes vacant. It's tremendous.
CapEx, man. People don't plan
just
enough.
MLG&W. Now there's a deposit. Now there's a connection fee that didn't used to be there, and now you got the monthly bill, and you got to cut the yard, and you got to rekey, and you got to, you know what I mean? Gotta.
That's why your management team and your leasing department is extremely important to keep these things running. Guys, you're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour. We're going to take a real quick break. We're going to come back and finish up on 1 to 20 houses. Then we're going to jump right into how to sell your rental for top dollar right after I give you the investments of the week. You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on FM 107.9 The Voice.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
Now, here's your Mid-South weather forecast from the News Channel 3 Severe Weather Center and Todd Demers, right here on KWAM The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Partly sunny, continued warm with highs nearing 90, even with today's cold front. A heat advisory will remain in effect for much of the Mid-South. North winds will be back for a couple of days. Mid-70s overnight will hold in the upper 80s with a slight chance for showers again tomorrow. Your air conditioner is working overtime, and with this heat, you can't risk a breakdown. Call Air and Heat Services to make sure you can stay cool all summer long. 662-838-8088. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions, and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludy Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
CBS Money Watch.
Amazon's fourth annual Prime Day was hyped up to be its biggest ever, but shoppers ran into trouble almost immediately. Many links led to error pages and missed opportunities for bargain shoppers. Prime Day lasts until this Tuesday evening. Meantime, shares of Netflix dropped 14% in after-hours trading Monday after the streaming service announced it's adding subscribers at a slower pace than projected. Netflix says it gained 5.1 million subscribers last quarter, more than 1 million below what was expected. And that's your CBS Money Watch report. For more, head to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the New York Stock Exchange, I'm Diane King Hall.
To prevent muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. This fast-acting foam is clinically proven to relieve leg and foot cramps. Get TheraWorks Relief today at select Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid pharmacies or TheraWorksRelief.com. Ask your pharmacist for TheraWorks Relief.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back. Investments of the week, guys. Multifamily units for the first time on the show. I'm going to give you 2 multi-unit properties. I can't go into all the details because of the time frame here, but I'll give you the meat, and then you guys can email me after the show, dean@CrestCore.com, or you can check these out on our website, CrestCoreRealty.com. 1302 Court Avenue, guys. Memphis 38104. This is 8 units.
That's been a good little apartment.
It's been a great apartment for him. He's just shifting directions in his investing, but potential
like multifamily. Wants to go to back to single.
Yeah, he does. Potential rent on this one. The actual rent is $44,640. We've got one vacancy, $47,520 is the max rent, but 8 units, $325,000. Got an apartment complex consisting of 8 units. 4 studios, 4 one-bedroom, 1-bath apartments with a brick firewall in between. So all 8 are occupied, and I tell you, this is a good little property. He's done a really good job of improving this. $325,000 for 8 units. You can get you $47,000 a year in rent. So it's not bad numbers at all. 1302 Court Avenue. You guys email me about this thing. It's probably not going to last too long at that price. 1277 Airways Boulevard. It's another 8-unit complex. It's a little bit different area of town, 38114. The rent numbers aren't quite as high there. You can have this one for $239,900. 7 of the 8 are occupied. 7 of the 8 units have been rehabbed. All new water heaters, front and back security doors. I mean, this thing is in great shape. This investor has, I think he just rehabbed half of them. I think 6. Mm-hmm. Really good job on the rehab. Tenants are happy. So Give me a shot on this one, too. 1277 Airways Boulevard, $239,900 for 8 units, and you can get you $43,000 a year in rent. So a little bit different speed here this week. We gave you some multi-unit. There's a lot more details that I can get you, the financials and things like that. Shoot me an email at dean@crestcore.com for more information on those. Before we went to break, we were talking about how to go from 1 to 20 houses, mindset, treat it like a business, set you some smart goals, systems and processes, decide what your lane is, what you're good at, and stick with that. Scorecard and metrics, the last one.
Yep.
Talk about what a scorecard is with this, because we do this at CrestCore. I'm graded on these. All of our department heads are graded on these. But talk about scorecard and metrics when it comes to 1 to 20 houses.
I think that's, as you were just alluding to, we use traction now with our businesses to, help us think through how to create vision and where we're going, and scorecard and metrics and how's the culture doing, that kind of stuff. But if I look back on my career with rental property, I'm just now trying to catch up on daily metrics for the rentals. We were going so fast, so hard, buying stuff that probably shouldn't have, looking back on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So really need to put what's the most important things to you, and start measuring those and putting a system in place to measure them. We all, through our software, we offer a lot of, income statements, and all the bills are there and everything else. So there's ways to, I'm trying to think through, how to use some virtual assistants, if you will, to help me just, scorecard everything. So, what's your rents today, total for month to date, and what's your expenses month to date by category, and, what's your net return so far for this, month and quarter and year. And so then you start making really good decisions on keeping assets or buying more of. You start seeing that, hey, those houses in 38128, and this is, this area are the, cream of the crop. Hey, but these, these 4 or 5, that's why, so Verna posted, so appreciate that, like North Haven.
Yeah.
We just learned it didn't matter how cheap I bought that house.
It didn't
I
work.
bought them for $12,000.
It didn't work.
And I'm losing money. Losing money. And so I just, if you have the score, and it wasn't until we started scorecarding. So we watch, every time we have a turn, for example, we'll look at the last 3 years profitability. I don't know if I've talked about that on the show or not. But
I don't think so, but I know you're doing this.
But that's a scorecard. That's a process. That's a system. So when we have a turn, no matter how much it costs, we look at the last 3 years, and if it's red across the board, guess what we're doing?
Selling it.
Yeah, I'm not putting another $2,000 or $3,000, $5,000, whatever that number is, back in that rental.
Cut your loss.
It's going over to Dino.
Yeah, sell that thing.
Sell it.
And what's funny is that it just. And the next investor could turn that thing into something that you didn't.
That's right.
I treat it sometimes. They're like, hey, you ever seen a slot machine? Somebody's losing at it for 3 hours. You go sit down on it and you've won the whole thing. It's like that. Your business can be different than some others. But I like the fact what you just said there. You're delegating some of your time out. Your time is more valuable.
I just want to look at.
You can do this research, but your time is way more valuable. Doing other bigger picture things and having VAs to help with some of this.
Yeah, so that's why I was drawing that out. That's this morning. What I want them to report to me every morning. I just want to look at a summary sheet every morning, so that I can make informed, educated decisions on
based off facts.
All facts, and not. I had that happen. I had that guy in Birmingham had 10 houses with us, and he's just called me up, just distraught about maintenance is killing me, and just that broad statement. And you start looking at it. I sit there and I sliced and diced it for him, and found out that 2 houses was the cause of him feeling this way. 8 of them were in the green and positive. So guess what? We helped him sell those 2, and now he's got a portfolio of 8 left that are all positive. Now he feels like he should go buy some more.
And he should.
Versus when you had the 2 that were dragging you down. So, that's why the systems and metrics are all very important.
That's right. So. Let's jump right over into segment 2 here. How to sell your rental for top dollar. This is a big question.
Topic,
this is a big question that I get frequently from investors on. Man, I rehabbed it. I got a tenant in there. It's perfect. It's in great shape.
Right.
And sometimes I guess it could be, and sometimes it might not be. But of course, maintain the asset, safe and clean and secure is an obvious. But when you go through that, we're talking no water leaks, roof, plumbing. I mean, the first things that my investors ask me when I'm selling a home for another investor for whatever reason is, how's the roof? How's the HVAC? How's the water heater? And how's the plumbing and how's the electrical?
Yeah.
Those are 5 questions that I get every single time. And we put those, of course, on here. Water leaks, roof, plumbing, AC, keep it painted. I mean, don't
specifically the outside, keep it maintained so the wood's not rotting. You're not getting cracks and allowing critters to get into your property and create more damage. And we're just trying to make it safe, clean, and secure. If you keep that mindset all along the way, you're trying to maintain that asset to get top dollar when you need to sell. Because you just never know. I mean, that's one thing we've learned in this business is you never know when is going to be the time to sell.
Yeah, because if you're going to hold us,
I never thought I'd sell, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not an absolute statement guy, but I never thought I'd sell a property. We've sold 30 or 40, in the last 2 years.
So I look at it like this: if you're buying investment homes or rental homes, and you say, "Hey, Dean, I'm going to keep these for 30 years,"
right?
As a matter of fact, I'm never going to sell them.
Never
give
sell
them
them
to my kids.
Yep.
They're going to sell them, or they're keep them, or whatever. Well, that's great, and you might do that. So if you're going to do that and you're going to stick with that, you got to maintain this thing.
Right.
You can't do nothing for 30 years and hand it to your kids and then expect them to do anything with it or hand it to whoever.
Right.
You've got to maintain. If you're going to sell it, you might not even know you are, but if you're going to sell it, you've got to maintain it.
Correct.
Either way, with either plan, you've got to maintain it. Some of these things we just talked about, the 5 major things, the roof, the HVAC, water heater, plumbing, and electrical. And then I like keep it painted on the outside. How often do you paint a home? Every 2 years, 3 years? Paint the outside?
No, it's much less than that. Probably every 7 or 8. If you use good paint and you caulked it really well and kept it secure. So, I think that we do several a month probably on our portfolio. So over 5 years, you painted half the portfolio, something like that. But the point of that is you just never know when you're going to sell. So maintain it. Some people get so short-sighted. Well, my return, I had one email yesterday, like he spent this much on rehab and tenant moved out, and now we got to, spend $2,000, and so I'm net negative, and, I'm like, yeah, sometimes, but that's just one unit out of 6, let's don't be so short-sighted, and does that make sense?
It makes tons of sense. This is the biggest one. Have great records.
Yeah.
Clean records.
Yeah.
The worst thing that you can do when you're trying to sell either a multi-unit, especially a multi-unit, but if you're selling a single-family home, can I see the lease? We don't have one.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, they're month to month.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. They're on month to month.
They're going to pay.
They're going to pay.
Can I see the maintenance history? Oh, man, I've just been
got
calling
receipts.
so-and-so. Yeah. He's been fixing it. That does not give an investor any confidence in your product and what they're trying to buy from you.
No.
On the flip side, can I see the lease? Yep, here's the lease. Here's my maintenance records what I've kept up with the last 2 or 3 years.
Here's my W-2 or my 10 or Schedule E for the property.
I've had it professionally managed by CrestCore. Here's all the maintenance records that they've been out to the home and things that I've done. The tenant's been in there for 3 years. Been late a few times, but she's current now and blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
That is, think about if you heard that from a seller versus, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's a good house, though.
Yeah.
Good zip code.
We looked at some houses about 2 months ago, and not a single, at a 135 house package, not a single lease.
Dear Lord.
Yeah. No
135
records.
houses, they didn't have a lease.
It was all in the guy's head. But guess what? The guy went to the hospital, 49 years old, got some infection, and never came out.
Ugh.
And so, to us, the portfolio is worth half of what, they were trying to get because there's no guarantee. Billy Bob says it's 600, and you go to knock on the lady's door, and I'm not paying. I've been paying 500. Well, you don't have nothing to
go back
on, so you're in a bad situation. So
keep your records. Utilize your property management software. We've got Propertyware. It keeps up with everything for every house with every client.
And when I did it myself, I think there's a QuickBooks version of rental property. I used that for years. If you are going to do it yourself, make sure you use the software. Don't just use Excel. Don't use, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, because anyone can create a spreadsheet and manufacture that thing on a dime.
That's right.
If you've got
Ongoing
history,
records,
ongoing
yep.
records.
If you're going to lie about it, it took you a lot more work
yeah,
than just
right.
fabricating a spreadsheet from
You
Excel.
still could lie, but if
You
you're
still
going
could
to,
lie.
you get a lot
You
more
make
effort this way.
A lot more effort to get there, but
Maintenance bills, work orders, warranty information on anything. If you've replaced an HVAC, a water heater, anything like that, keep your records clean. I promise you. I mean, I'd never come on here and guarantee anything. I guarantee you a buyer will look at your property more favorably, which means more money for you if your records are kept up. Keep your asset upgraded and your rents at market or above. This is also an issue that I see all the time.
yeah.
Hey, Dean, here's a home in 38118. It's a 1,500 square feet. Now, the tenant's been in there for 2 years, and they're only paying $650. I know the rent's $850 in the area, but they're only paying $650.
Yeah.
Well, you know what that is to an investor? That's a $650 rental
That's right.
that they want to pay $38,000, $39,000
That's
for
right.
versus $60.
That's right.
They don't care what.
Huge.
Because how are they going to get them out? I mean,
Right.
or raise the rent. You can't go to that tenant and say, hey, you've been paying $650 for 2 years. I need $850.
And if you figure out how to get them out, that's still going to cost you thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
Between your quote eviction or giving notice, and they're going to stop paying rent, and then you got the turnover cost. And I mean, I dealt with one just last week where a owner, I had a client come to me and said the rent's $350. Can you start collecting $350? And there's plumbing issues and all this, like 4 or 5 big issues. And I wrote back to the client. I said, hey, can you go investigate this a little further? Because $350 is not the market. Market's more like $550, maybe $6. And sure enough, the owner, instead of fixing something, think about this. I mean, this goes back to, long-term thinking, short-term thinking. The owner just kept reducing the rent versus fixing the issues.
Boy, that is the
That's
absolute
like the
worst.
that's
thing
like
to
the
do.
double killer, as far as just the value of the property, because you still got to fix it.
Yeah, that
And you've
doesn't go away.
degraded the property. If you got plumbing leaks or sewer underneath, you're setting yourself up for liability. You're setting yourself up for having to fix it
That
worse
seems
and
like
worse.
a really inexperienced thing to do.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and that's why that guy's not in business anymore.
Yeah,
and
that's-
so the guy that I was talking to bought it. And I just encouraged them, either let us fix the issues to get you back up to $550. Well, that's what I encouraged them to. I was like, I wouldn't accept $350. You know what I mean? Like your lease is $550. Why would you take a house? There's not a house in Memphis
Renting for $350.
rent for $350 that I know of.
No, and I don't want it if it is.
Yeah, that's right. So, and think about that difference in cap rate. I mean, I'm trying to think I think it reduces the value. I think I did the calculations, probably reduces the value of the property by 40%.
Yeah, see that, and investors don't buy; they buy on the rent.
Right.
Most 90%.
That's
buy
right.
on the rent. They're looking for what the rental market is.
So it's like a $50,000 house that you started renting it for $700 for whatever reason. I came up with, if you did a 10 cap, it's worth $42,000. But if you had that rent at $850, like it's supposed to be, like everybody else, you're at $51,000. That's $9,000. So you not want to spend that, couple thousand here and there
to fix
get,
to
get to the 9,000.
The absolute worst thought process. Guys, we're going to take a real short, quick break before we end the show here. We're in the studio with Dan Butler talking about how to sell your rental property for top dollar. You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on AM 990 Memphis.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. We'll be right back after this.
Now, here's your Mid-South weather forecast from the News Channel 3 Severe Weather Center and Todd Demers, right here on KWAM The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Partly sunny, continued warm with highs nearing 90. Even with today's cold front, a heat advisory will remain in effect for much of the Mid-South. North winds will be back for a couple of days. Mid-70s overnight will hold in the upper 80s with a slight chance for showers again tomorrow. Your air conditioner is working overtime, and with this heat, you can't risk a breakdown. Call Air and Heat Services to make sure you can stay cool all summer long. 662-838-8088. I'm News Channel 3's Todd Demers on The Voice, FM 107.9 and AM 990.
Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer, PLLC, is a full-service law firm with over 50 years of experience in the Memphis area. Real estate closings have continued to be the forefront of their law practice, which include residential, commercial, and development real estate transactions, drafting and negotiation of real estate contracts and leases, business information, preparation of wills, probate, and estate planning. Their firm represents a number of builders, developers, investors, and local lending institutions, and is approved to close transactions for most local banks and mortgage companies. In addition, they offer title search, title examination services, and title insurance through several well-established title insurance companies in the Memphis area, as well as Tennessee and Mississippi. They strive to offer services in a prompt and timely fashion, while advising and representing clients in a zealous and professional manner. Should their offered services be of need, please contact William N. Griffin Jr. or any of their attorneys at 901-752-1133. They can also be found online at www.gcemlaw.com or on Facebook.
Is it a good time to buy or refi? Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? Are interest rates going sky high soon? Hi, I'm Ludi Calloway, the mortgage lady at iBank Mortgage. I tell my customers to ask questions, get answers. So join me every Monday morning at 8 and I will tell you what's going on in today's still changing mortgage world. Remember, most people think about mortgages a few times in their lives. I think about them every single day. Tune in Mondays at 8.
You're listening to the Memphis Real Estate Hour on KWAM. And now, here's your host, Dean Harris.
All right, welcome back. Before we left for break, Dan and I were talking about Dan Butler, CrestCore Realty, how to sell your rental property for top dollar. We talked about maintaining the asset. I mean, some of this stuff ought to be obvious to you. I mean, I feel like sometimes we elementary this down so far, but then that next week I'll hear somebody, man, thanks for sharing that on the radio. So maintain the asset, keep it clean and secure, no water leaks, keep your, if you were listening to the beginning of this segment, the 5 things I hear from investors every time are what's the roof, HVAC, hot water heater, plumbing and electrical look like, what condition are they in. So make sure you're taking care of those. Have great and clean records. This is also huge. Make sure that you keep up with rent, leases, maintenance. Typically, especially if you let us manage your property, we've got a system where you one button to click. I use it for my accountant. I use it for if I were to sell anything, which I haven't yet, but my accountant loves it. I just click a button, hand him everything, and there it goes. So, so keep good records, work orders, that sort of thing. Keep your asset upgraded and rents at market or below. I think that's one of the worst errors you can make as an investor is to accept a dramatic $25 lower to get it occupied. I understand that.
Sure.
$200 lower because you don't want to fix something and you keep lowering rent, like that example you just gave, is awful. I mean, it's horrible.
Well, I think that because it's short-term versus long-term thinking, I think that's one of the things that we try to stress in this show as well, long-term thinking. I mean, it's a downward spiral.
Yep.
And so if you start making those incremental decisions, well, I'll just take $50 off and let her deal with X versus, gritting and grinding and figure out a way to fix it. I mean, you can figure out a way.
Yeah.
Even if you had to do it yourself or, hire a handyman off the street and pull him with you.
Something cheap,
some sort of solution. You just didn't want to do it. You didn't think hard enough and push through it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like that one that I dealt with all the issues she had with plumbing and everything else. Like somebody just didn't care.
Right.
And
just let the house go.
And they were just trying to, what that gets into that whole slumlord and like just squeezing that turnip to where they were just like seeing this thing. They were seeing it downward spiral themselves. So they're like, well, I'm going to get every dime I can out of it without putting anything back into it. And guess what? I mean, that person lost that house. That's what happened. That's why our client picked it up. That person lost it.
Yeah.
And so they're having to deal with the ramifications of that person losing it. But
making decisions like that are going to lose you property and lose your business.
Yep.
I mean,
and I think, I talked to a banker the other day. We were just talking about signs of a healthy investor and his whole thing, and this kind of goes back to records and maintaining everything, is does the client pay his taxes on time? Does he pay? Is insurance covered? Do we have the certificate of insurance for the property? Is the mortgage? Do we have any late payments? All that stuff comes together to make sure to show.
Sure.
So if you're an investor, it's like we have an investor that bought an apartment, 38112, I think it is, and I tried to talk her out of it because you look at the sales and tax history, it's selling every 2 years. I mean, it's a multifamily, by the way.
So there's something the matter with it.
There's something that's sold 5 times in 10 years. Taxes are always behind. You can look at the tax records. So you either got to be willing to understand how to fix that and understand the market and what you're going to do totally different from anybody else, or you need to stay away from that asset. So
altogether,
just I think that you got to go know that stuff going in,
for sure.
So
our last our last point here on how to sell your rental home for top dollar is find the right partner to help you sell the property, and credible agent and company. It could be. Yeah, of course, I would think it is. No, we can help you sell it, but there's not many, but there are a couple other investor agents here in town. But find the right partner. You need the most exposure you can get.
That's right. MLS nowadays is just not enough.
It's not enough. It helps. It gets you on some websites that international buyers can look at.
Yeah.
Truly, Zillow, Realtor.com, all that stuff it puts you on. But that's not, you list a residential home, that's about all you have to do. You network and market to your sphere of influence. But to properly market an investment home, there are definite websites, ways, and
buyer lists,
and strategies to use to market that home to sell it for the most dollar.
That's right.
And oftentimes it's not on the MLS. I can make one call to another investor and say, here, what do you think of this product? I know you're looking. And as a matter of fact, that it sells more times than not that way than just me sticking it on the MLS and a buyer coming along saying, man, I got to have that property that you have on the MLS. A lot of times I'm connecting investors to products that they're looking for.
Yeah, when you see it, I saw that email you had from last night from Douglas, who helped pick up 7 listings. You already, quote, had them sold.
I think I do. I cannot wait to get to the office because I know somebody that's looking for that
product.
Yeah.
So you got to partner with people like that have that.
Both sides. Not
That's
just,
right.
You can get in Memphis on retail and have a listing agent.
Sure.
And they'll be great. There's several here.
Right.
Judy McClellan's our biggest one. She'll sell your $1 million home like that, I'm sure.
Right.
But can she sell an $40,000 investment property? I don't know. So my point is that's all.
Or do we want to sell the $1 million home?
I don't. I'll refer that out.
Yeah, because
if somebody came to me
lane.
today and said, hey, man, I got a $2 million home out in Cordova or Collierville I want to sell, hey, man.
I'll sell it.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Give it to David.
Give it to me.
David will be like, Dean, how do I list?
How do I list? How do I go on MLS?
That's right.
I was thinking about that. I got my real estate stuff yesterday to pay for the MAR. I'm like, I've been an agent for 14 years. I don't even have a login for Paragon. Is it Paragon? Is that even the name?
It is Paragon. We've switched a few times in my day, but yes, that's it.
But I'm not the right partner to go sell your house.
I'm not the right one either. What I am going to tell you is I'm the right one to sell your investment house, though.
Yeah.
So we don't usually plug ourselves on the show, but I can definitely help you do that. It's all we do.
Well, it's just finding the right partner for, and specifically we're talking about investment properties today. So that's why, it makes sense.
Right.
So.
Guys, I really appreciate you tuning in this morning, whether you're on Facebook Live, appreciate you joining us, or you're listening on the radio somewhere, or streaming the show on the website. You guys go to www.CrestCoreRealty.com for all the investments of the week. Go to the show's Facebook page to check out today's show or any of the previous ones. You guys have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday on the Memphis Real Estate Hour.